We are now on patch 14.10 and here is the best comps that you want to play to climb the ladder this patch. And we are starting out with Sage, Morgana and Lilla. In this comp we are prioritizing a lot of traits. Dragonlord, Mythic, Sage is the main ones, but all the other traits have their benefits. What we're looking for in this comp is to go to a fast level 8 and look for Morgana, Nautilus, Lilla and also Wukong if possible. How we prioritize our items will be Morgana first, then Lilla, then Nautilus, and then Wukong, especially because we're not sure that we will get him before we're getting to level 9. So what we're looking for when it comes to items is classic Morgana item, Sojourn and Morello +1. And it could be Static Shift, but you could also put that on Lilla, and you could also put Spark on Nautilus. You just need at least one of them, and it could be Morgana that be the holder. Else, you can just go for any other AP items. That could be Gauntlet, it could be Death Cap, or it could even be a scaling item like Archangel. Lilla is similar, just go for a mana item and 2 AP items. Nautilus wants pure tank items. As mentioned, you could go for Spark, but you should probably just go for 3 tank items and then put a Static Shift on one of the backline units. Once you get Wukong, you will start putting items on him, and before you're finding Wukong, you could also play something like Lee Sin and just have him as the item holder. When it comes to augments, we want to have something like Sage or Dragonlord. More of these traits is really good for this comp, and we do need a lot of wands, so Magic Wand could be a great item, especially because most of your damage is coming from AP, and you're also getting yourself a free large rod. How you can play this comp before you're getting to level 4-1 or 4-2 and going to level 8 and rolling for the full board. It could be playing something like some of the mythic units like Cho'Gath, Kog'Maw and Neeko, and then you can add in something like Malphite and Illaoi and playing around these units and then just pivoting into the rest of the comp. Get to level 8 at stage 4-1 or 4-2 and then roll for the full board. And if you're getting the main units to 2-star, you can just go up to level 9 and add in the final units. Next up we have Mythic Lilla. And in this comp we are playing around mythic units and especially Lilla. We do also have 4 in Invokers, which are giving us some extra mana for the comp. When it comes to prioritizing what items should be on what units first, it will be Lilla first, then Annie, then Nautilus and then Ashe. Which one of these you're picking first should probably just be the one that you are hitting first or the one you are hitting to 2-star first. But else, I would take Annie over Nautilus. When it comes to augments, emblems for both of these traits are really good and Mana Shield is really good as well, especially when you are playing Invokers. It is a fast 8 comp, so it does mean that we want to get to level 8 as fast as possible, and we want to do that at stage 4-1 or 4-2. Before we are hitting the full comp, we would like to play around mythic units, and that means something like Cho'Gath, Kog'Maw and Tahm Kench is units that we are looking for. We do also play something like Neeko, and if possible, we could also play something like Malphite or even Bard before we're hitting some of the other units. Next up we have Sniper Ashe. And in this comp, we are looking for 4 snipers and 4 warden. So the snipers in the backline and the wardens in the front line. We are prioritizing Ashe, Nautilus and Amumu when it comes to items. And we do also want items on Aphelios if possible. The main thing in this comp is we just want to hold the front line as long as possible. And then let Ashe scale up and do all the damage. Aphelios does do quite a lot of damage as well. So he will be the secondary damage dealer. When it comes to prioritizing what units we are putting item on first, it will be Ashe first, then Amumu, then Nautilus, and then Aphelios. Are we in the situation where we are getting items for Aphelios and we can't really use those item components for the frontline? We will obviously just slam them and put them on Aphelios. Items that we're looking for is Rageblade for sure, and then the 2 crit items as well. Infinity Edge is super good. And Last Whisper is also perfect when it comes to getting Sunder on the units, so we are taking the front line down faster. Get yourself a Sunfire Cape on one of the units, especially because it's a good item in early game, but also because we want to have anti-heal. It does give the same effect as Red Buff, and that means you could just go for one of them, especially because you are needing some bows this comp, so you kinda can skip Red Buff if needed, but are you getting it? It's a really good item for Aphelios. else just put pure tank items on the front line and put similar items on Aphelios as on Ashe. When it comes to augments, we want something like Sniper Crest, since it gives us the option to play for 6 snipers. We could do that by putting in something like Set and just put it on him, and then just add in Kog'Maw as well. But else, just a specific augment for one of the 2 main traits, Snipers or Warden, is really good as well. It is a fast 8 comp, so once again, you want to get to stage 4-1 or 4-2 and go to level 8 and do a roll down to hit the full board. Obviously, we can't guarantee to get set on this roll down, so we do need another Warden before that. And that means we have to settle down using one of the other units from this trait, and that will be Garen, Jax, or Gnar. The build up for this board could just be putting items on Senna and Caitlyn and playing the lower cost units from Warden, and then you're just building up, and as soon as you're getting Ashe, you will prioritizing putting the items over and having an extra Senna and an extra Caitlyn on your bench and put them in when you transfer the items over. Next up we have Dragonlord Irelia, and this comp is mainly about Dragonlord. And else there is a lot of other traits, but the main thing is that we're getting this trait active, and we do also have Duelist. But when it comes to carries and items, we do prioritize Irelia, Galio, and Lee Sin. And we do also prioritize these units in that order when it comes to items. So we're putting items and are making items for Irelia first, then we go for Galio, and then we go for Lee Sin. And it's not because Lee Sin is not doing anything or anything like that. It's just because we do need these items to win the game in the late game. And we do also need some sort of tank line to make Irelia scale up. So what we want to do in this comp is we want to get to level 9. It's a fast level 9 comp. And you obviously want to go to level 8 and stabilize. And then as soon as you can, you want to go to level 9. So the main thing is that you want to keep your health as high as possible, but you also don't want to roll that much. So what you do is every time you're getting above 50 gold, you're just gonna use the gold for experience. And if you're good and lucky, you can get yourself through the mid and the early game and get to the late game and see yourself hitting a fast level 9. When you want to play this comp or any other fast level 9 comp, you want to prioritize to playing strong early game units. And what is really strong right now is to play around Story Weaver. And that could be just playing some of these units, using Severe for Irelia's items, and also playing something like Garen or Riven. And then if you see yourself getting 5 of these units, you can play that and try to push in the strongest units you find. That means playing 5 Story Weavers, and then you're finding yourself a random Annie or a random On or a random Nautilus. You're gonna put that unit in as your 6th unit. Always prioritize the highest cost unit, or if you're getting a random 2 cost unit, you can also hold units and see if you're getting them to 2-star. You can always just sell them again if you don't need them. But are you getting a random 2-star 3 cost unit that are a tank unit? You can use that and just letting yourself having a stronger front line. Meanwhile, your backline is scaling up. So your backline instead of this could be something like Severe and Sire instead. So you're just switching the items over. And you could also play something like Zoe instead of Diana. And then you're obviously just going to switch the front line a little bit up for lower cost units as well. Just to be specific when it comes to the items, we want to have Rage Blade and Red Buff as well. And then we do also want to have Infinity Edge. I really can use a few different items, but these are the best. And else I would just prioritize in getting in something like Giant Slayer, but just go for pure tank items. And if we do not have a Red Buff, we could slam in something like a Sunfire Cape on one of the other frontline units. Augments, a specific one for Dragonlord, or just new recruit, because we have so many different units we can just put in. It doesn't really matter. We can put in the Syndra, we can put in Ashe, we can put in Udyr. It doesn't really matter that much. An extra unit on this board is just super good because we are getting to level 9 really fast, and that means we have an easy time getting a 2-star anything 5 cost unit. Next up we have Invoker Annie. And in this comp we are playing for 6 Invokers and mainly playing around Annie as the main tank. So the units that we're looking for is Annie, Lilla, Ashe, and Alune. And Annie will be the main unit. So that means we're also putting items on her first. And else the prioritize will be Lilla, Ashe, and Alune. But we do obviously probably getting items and putting items on a loon before we're finding a seer. So it could change up the order a little bit, but if we can pick ourselves, it would be Lilla, a seer, and a loon. So that also means that we're looking for a few tank items in the early game, but as you can see, we do need a lot of rods, so that will be the prioritize as first, but else slam items, getting tank items on Annie as soon as you can. When it comes to augments, we are getting something like Mana Shell because it's super good when we're playing Invokers. We do also putting up an Invoker Crest so we can have 6 in the trade before we are finding a seer. And Lotus is also really good because that means we can skip Dual Gauntlet and just playing any of the other AP items. As you can see, I haven't put mana items on all of the units, and that is because we are having 6 in Invokers, and that means we're getting tons of mana and we can skip the mana item and getting ourselves a third AP item instead. This do makes us do a lot of damage, and if the frontline is strong enough, you can go for something like Archangel, so we are scaling up as well. It is a fast 8 comp, so obviously, once again, get to stage 4-1 or 4-2, get to level 8, and then do a roll down to try to hit the full board. The most common thing when you're playing this comp will be to play around Mythics, as I have shown in the other comps. So play around Mythics and then get to level 8 as soon as you can and try to play the full board. Next up we have Faded Syndra. And in this comp we are playing 5 Faded and 4 in the other trade. We have seen this comp a lot since the last patch and for a good reason. The prioritize is Syndra, On, Fresh and Set. And that is also the units that we are putting items on. Syndra in the first place, then On, then Fresh and then Set. In the best case we're putting something like Blue Buff and 2 AP items on Syndra, and then just pure tank items on Fresh and On. We're obviously just gonna go for 1 Spark, and we're also only gonna go for 1 Sunfire Cape, but else you're just gonna put pure tank items on them. As soon as we get to the point where we can put items on Set, we will probably have the items on Gnar before, and then we're just gonna put them over to Set as soon as we find them. That also means we need a Gnar on the bench, so we can just swap that in if we want to sell the unit with the items. It is a fast 8 comp, so you want to go to level 8 as fast as possible. Usually that will be around 4-1 or 4-2. And if possible, you do also want to have an emblem from one of the 2 traits. And the reason why we want to do that is because then we can play for 6 in one of the traits. And that also means we have to put in Rek'Sai, but if you're getting 1 for Faded, it means you can play for 5 Faded before you're finding Set. And usually just gonna put Faded on. This is one of the comps that I wouldn't recommend you to force doing, so it's probably gonna be quite contested. It is super good, but are you in the situation where you are getting yourself a lot of Faded units in the early game? Ahri, Rek'Sai, Yasuo, Kindred, Aphelios, Fresh, all of the Faded units from the early game, you can just easily go into this comp and let Ahri be the item holder for Syndra and then just pivot in that way. Next up we have Bruiser and Trickshot with Kaisa and Silas. And once again, it's just the classic one. It's been one of the best comps for a long time. It is just playing around 5 Bruisers and 4 Trickshots. There's so many guys on this comp. It's not something I would force anymore, but it's still definitely playable. So are you getting a start with a lot of Bruiser units and a few Trickshot units where you can just put the items on Teemo and then just pivot into this comp really easily? You could definitely go for it, but it's not one of the strongest comps anymore, so don't force it, just play it if it comes really natural. Next up we have Duelist Lee, and here we're playing around Duelist and Dragonlord, and that also means that something like Duelist augments is really good, and obviously this augment that are specific for Titans is really good as well, because we are using a lot of Titans. It is a standard rolling comp at level 7, where we want to get to 3 cost units to 3-star, but it is low-key Lee Sin that are the main carry, but these 2 units are doing tons of work as well. Irelia is obviously the last one, but that is more about the late game. So this is the board that you are mainly looking for. If you're getting an emblem, you will put that on Diana, and then you also want to play Yasuo for getting 8 in that trade. But else you're just gonna play around this, and then get yourself something like Wukong if possible. Get to level 7 and do a roll down and see if you can hit the main of the units to 2-star, and then you're just gonna try to hit Volibear and Tristana to 3-star if you're not contested. If you are contested, just get up in levels, get this in online and give him items as well. And then you want to have him to 2-star and then put in whatever 5-cost units that you're finding. And if you're getting Irelia, it's super good. It's also really good if you're getting Wukong. And else you're just gonna play one of the other 5-cost units and see yourself pushing levels. You obviously just want to get up in levels if you are contested, if you are not sure that you can win out the competition about getting the units to 3-star. But I would always prioritize to get these units to 3-star if you're not contested. If you are contested, heavily consider to get up in levels instead and just be fine getting a top 4 and let the others die out earlier. That was all for now. Thanks for watching, and if you do like these kind of guides, make sure to subscribe to the channel and give the video a like. And else, just good luck on climbing, and I'll see you in my next guide.